Okay, hello everyone. My name's Shamash Alidina, and I am joined today by Shalini Pala, who runs an organization called Just Jhoom, and she applies mindfulness in her work. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to have a chat with her and find out a little bit more about what this Just Jhoom is. And yeah, so that's the idea. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Shamash. It's great to be talking to you.
So first of all, can you say a little bit more about what Just Jhoom is and explain to people what that's all
Yeah,
about?
so Just Jhoom means just dance, and it's Bollywood inspired dance fitness. And I created the company about 5.5 years ago now. And the reason I created it was I had started teaching Bollywood dance fitness to people in my local community, and people just loved it. And I had come back to dance after many years of working in the hospitality industry and recruitment, and I suffered from depression and the, I'm sure you understand the day to day life, family issues. It just created such a
Mm.
lot of pressure in my life. And I'd left dance to the side. I thought dance is not what I want to do. It's not a good career for a good Indian girl. At least that's what I was told time and time again.
Yeah.
But I came back to dance when I suffered from depression and decided to start teaching in the community. And I was teaching it for a few years before I realized I actually wanted to, in some way, spread that, spread the love and spread the dance further afield. And I couldn't do that on my own. So in 2010, I created Just Jhoom, which was really putting everything down on paper, video clips, and actually training fitness instructors and dance teachers to go out there and teach Just Jhoom. And that was really how it all started.
Mm.
For me, Just Jhoom is a very mindful way of exercising because if you are in a class, you can't think of anything else. You have to just be there in the moment, learning the routines, learning the steps, learning the hand gestures, things like that. So it's a very mindful movement, is what I call it.
Mm. Wow, wow. So it's such a beautiful thing. So you're taking something fun like Bollywood, which a lot of people know about and people are enthusiastic about, but then you also have this twist of mindfulness in it. So was there a certain point where you learnt mindfulness, or did you use mindfulness to help you work with your depression? How was it?
Yes, it's really interesting because I was practicing mindfulness. So I was hospitalized for a while, and I did a lot of therapy, art therapy, and interestingly, no dance therapy, no movement therapy, which I thought was quite interesting at the time. But
Mm.
when I left the hospital, I came home and I had to give up my job,
Mm.
and I went to work at a local art center, and I was doing very basic work like putting notices on notice boards and photocopying because that's all my brain could deal with. And
Mm.
I would do that for about 3 hours every morning. And then I'd come home, and the first thing I would do is make masala tea. So
Oh, my
masala chai.
favorite, my favorite.
Yeah. So I would put the pot on the stove, and I would boil the water, and I'd boil the spices, and then I'd put the tea leaves in, and I'd then put the milk and the sugar, and that would be a 15-minute process of making tea,
Mm.
and that's all I focused on for
Yeah,
15 minutes.
yeah.
So mindfulness, because that's all my mind could focus on, and it was it's a very it's such a tactile way of making tea because there's these wonderful aromas. You're looking at the milk boiling and the tea leaves boiling. It sounds quite sad, but it was for me. It was a form of therapy because I
Mm.
wasn't thinking of anything else. I was just thinking about that tea. That was the
Wow.
most important thing for me. And then I would sieve the tea into a mug, and I would sit there for 15 minutes with my mug of tea. And all that mattered was my enjoyment of the tea. I wasn't thinking
Mm.
about the past and all the regrets and disappointments. I wasn't worrying about the future. I was sitting there with my cup of tea.
Yeah,
That's mindfulness. But
yeah.
I didn't know that's what it was. It wasn't what I didn't have a term for it. And then I realized that I really liked giving full attention to everything. And Shamash, what's really interesting is I always used to say I was the multitasking queen. And suddenly I couldn't multitask. My brain just couldn't do it anymore. And it's funny how much pride we take that we can multitask, but actually we
Mm.
can't really multitask because we're not
Yeah,
doing anything well.
yeah.
So, yeah, so for me, mindfulness, that's my first, what I think of my first real mindfulness exercise or activity. And then when I went back into dance, I realized that when I was in class, that's what I'm doing. I'm teaching, but that's all I'm doing. I'm focused on teaching hands, feet, whatever to the ladies. And again, it's very, very mindful. So
Mm,
that was my informal mindfulness, what I
mm,
call informal, what you call sort of
mm,
informal mindfulness. And then the formal meditation came a few years later. I started learning my meditation online
mhm,
through a lot of Deepak Chopra's online courses.
mhm.
And that was, I was hooked. I absolutely felt I got so much out of it. And the
Wow.
last 2 years have been pretty tricky years for me in my life. And for me, mindfulness and meditation and dance have kept me on an even keel.
Wow, what an amazing story. And mindful masala chai, that sounds like such a fantastic thing to do. And it's so beautiful that you discovered it yourself. You're like a modern day Buddha in a way, because the Buddha or, whoever kind of discovered meditation, it happened like that, right? It's just a natural thing that we all experience in different ways. But you just found that was naturally something that was helping you. It must have been so cool to find out that actually there's other people doing this mindfulness stuff as well. It wasn't just you on your own.
I know, it was so funny. I was like, mindfulness, oh, I do that.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because it mind the it's interesting what will work for you. So for me, it was masala tea, and it brought feelings of comfort as well because it reminded me of my childhood as well. But also, it grounds you. It's a cup of tea, and
Mm,
isn't it funny in our English culture and the British culture? It's always let's have a cuppa. Oh, if somebody's worried about something, come in. I'll put the kettle on.
yeah.
And what I really like about tea for me is I live in England. I'm British, but I was born in Kenya. But India is my heritage. I've got Indian heritage. So for me, tea spans all those three cultures: British culture, Indian culture, and Kenyan. Because Kenya is such a big tea growing nation.
Mm.
So I just love that small simple cup of tea for me is so important.
Yeah, yeah. It's like an acceptable way of saying, let's really take a break, let's be present, let's connect with each other, let's be
Yeah.
mindful. But rather than saying something like that, you could just say, put the kettle on, or let's have some
Yes.
chai or something. It's like a nice,
Exactly.
wow.
And I think for a lot of people are so worried about doing meditation or doing mindfulness because they're
Mm,
so worried they're going to fail at it.
mm,
Whereas if you say, okay, let's just have a cup of tea and let's see how long we can just focus on that cup of tea. And if your mind goes to thoughts, just bring it back to the cup of tea. Just bring it back to the cup of tea.
mm,
So it's a really nice way. It's a bit like the raisin exercise as well, that you focus
yeah,
on that raisin just for
yeah,
a few moments. That's all
yeah.
that matters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fantastic. And now I'm quite interested in how you're applying. I would say you're really applying mindfulness in a very creative way, aren't you? Because of, okay, first of all, you discovered it through the process of making this Indian tea to be mindful, and then you learned through things like Deepak Chopra, and you learned to teach mindfulness. So, what kind of gave you the inspiration to bring something like dance together with mindfulness, first of all, and also how has that helped the people that you've been working with?
Okay, so when I was in hospital, I put a piece of music on. I just had some music, a music player, and I wasn't really engaging in anything. So I wasn't able to read because I couldn't focus on the words. I wasn't really talking to people. I couldn't work. And the one thing that seemed to speak to me was music. And there was this particular track that I played, which was a track about the Hindu god Krishna. And it was just 3 or 4 minutes. And I just felt so moved to stand up and do the dance I had learned to that track. And I
Wow.
had learned that dance probably when I was in my teens. So it had been at least 10 or 12 years since I had done that particular track. But for some reason, it just came back and the body was able to move to that music, not very fluidly, because if you think if you're on if you've got depression, you're on so much medication. I was on antidepressants, I was on sleeping tablets to sleep, antidepressants to wake up, I was
Mm,
tired, so I was very shaky, so it wasn't
mm,
fluid, but it didn't matter. It was probably one of the most important performances of my life because it was an internal performance.
mm,
And so what I would do is if I put my hand out, it was very much about the hand. At that time, it was a shaky hand, but it was very much about focusing on the hand, bringing the hand back. Krishna plays the flute, so it was very much about the whole movement of hand gestures and so on. I'm not religious. I'm not a practicing Hindu, but it still seemed to speak to me for some
mm.
reason.
Mm.
And so when I came out of hospital, I decided, okay, I'm going to use dance for my own recovery.
Mm.
And I found that very powerful because when I put the music on, all that mattered was the music, the movement, my hand gestures, where the eye goes. When the eye goes to the hand, then so the mind also goes to the hand. So you're very much about being in that moment. And I thought this really works for me. It really did help my recovery. It was really very much part of my therapy.
Mm.
And then, as I said, I was working at the art center, and somebody just came up to the reception one day and said, "Do you know anybody who teaches Indian dance?" And I had, before I'd given up, before I'd gone into recruitment and hospitality, I used to teach Indian dance to children.
Yeah.
And so this lady said, "Oh, I work in a local school. Can you come and teach some children?" And I said, "Okay, but I haven't done it for a few years, but let's try." And I started, and that's it. I started that way. And then when I started teaching in the community, I was really interested to see what a difference it made to the people coming to me. So for some people, it was their only hour that they gave to themselves.
Mm.
For some people, it was the only hour that they'd come for class and then they'd socialize with friends. So it was their way of making friends.
Mm.
For some people, it was a new hobby they were trying. But whatever their motivation for that hour, they were fully present. They were fully in the moment. They could not be. Because
Mm.
when we do a step, so say everybody knows a box step, for example, you do a box step. But with us, you bring the hands in, so you put hands, hands.
Mm.
You have to then do the feet, the arms, the hands, the face, and smile. It takes a lot of work. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can't really be thinking about supermarket shopping or
yeah,
have I
yeah.
fed my guinea pigs or how are the children doing. I have to be present. And I found that was really, so for people, it wasn't just a body workout, it was a mind workout as well.
Wow, that's such a
So that,
beautiful way of putting it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, so
yeah.
that's where it was. And then Bollywood music is so uplifting. So it was quite, in a way, quite spiritual as well, because our cool downs would always have a very calming, centering,
Mm.
focused element to it. So that was bringing mindful cool down into it as well. So I always say that Just Joom is very much a mind, body, and spirit workout.
Wow, wow, that's fantastic. It's really, I can really get a sense of it now, how you describe, your hands, and you need to focus on so many things, your attention's on so many things, that there's no space for the mind to keep wandering off into other things. And also there's the sense of fun, right? And the smile on the face and moving the body, that's all kind of really therapeutic in a sense as well. It's very, very creative. I love it. I was just thinking,
Yeah, that's it.
is there any
Go on.
way of like just for a few minutes that we can, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but is there any kind of like actions or movements that we can do, a little bit of mindful movement with our hands, or does it
Yeah,
not work like that?
yeah. Okay, so give me your hand, Shamash. So there you go. So those are flag hands,
Yeah.
nice and straight. The thumb can either be bent or at the side. It doesn't really matter. And then fist.
Just.
That's it. And the thumb hugging your other fingers.
Hmm.
And then B, if you again open and put the thumb out, one finger and two fingers. That's B. So those are buzzy bees.
Okay. I like this one.
Very good. Very good. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can buzz them around your head as well.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. This one's out of
Careful.
control.
And then put the hands up and the palm facing the ceiling and just spread the fingers
Mhm,
and then bring your little finger towards you.
mhm.
That's it. Oh, lovely. That's your lotus flowers.
Oh,
So
nice.
you have flag,
Flag.
fist,
Fist,
bee,
bee.
lotus.
Oh, wow.
And again, flag,
Flag.
fist,
Fist,
bee,
bee.
lotus.
Is that right, Lotus?
Faster, faster. Flag, fist, bee, lotus, flag, fist. No, I'm kidding. Don't worry.
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
A really good one to do is when you're at the traffic light,
Yeah.
put your handbrake up, put one hand into bee,
One hand to be
one hand into lotus.
Lotus.
Can you
Okay.
see my hand? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now take the bee flying into the lotus and
Nice.
change.
Oh. Wow.
And change.
Okay.
And change. So straight away, you're not thinking of anything else except your hands at this point, right?
Yeah. I'm struggling to even think about that at the moment. Oh my goodness, it's quite, yeah, it's really, it's a bit like, when you do like that, and it's like that. You really have to, yeah. And I can
Yeah,
imagine, like, when your mind's just so full of stuff, you need something which is involving your body and your mind, and you're totally into it. Wow,
yeah.
very
So
nice.
it's a bit like if you look at some of the mindfulness exercises, they talk about picking fruit,
Hmm.
yeah, or
Hmm.
picking flowers, they say in
Yeah.
one of them. So for me, I use picking fruit as this is how I'll do the exercise. So there's a lot to think, a little bit more to think about.
Yeah.
And what they say in a lot of the mindfulness exercises, John Kabat-Zinn, for example, is you're using your body to be mindful. Well, that's what we're doing here. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And so, in terms of what you're offering now to people, what is it? If they come to say one of your classes, what would they get? Was it like training to be like a teacher of it, or is it to come to one of your classes to do the dance? How does it work at the moment?
It's both.
It's both.
So we do online training
Hmm.
for all our instructors.
Hmm.
So if you're a dance teacher or fitness instructor, you can come and do our online training,
Wow.
and that gives you the ability and the license to then go out and set up your own Just Joom classes.
Hmm.
I have 3 of my own Just Joom classes, and that's just anybody who wants to come to a class. Even people who say I've got 2 left feet, very welcome, and I'll teach them to Just Joom. And I do 3 classes in Cranley, which is where I live in Surrey.
Mm.
And so it's open to anyone. And then we say that we do Just Joom for ages 3 to 103 because as an instructor, I'll go into schools. So
Hmm.
for example, in November, I'm in an infant school, I'm in a primary school, and I'm in a secondary school, all in the space of is 2 weeks. I'm teaching those different ages.
Mm.
And then we'll also go into care homes and do Just Joom with care homes because again, just doing very simple seated Just Joom, again, it's very mindful. We'll
Yeah,
use props with things like scarves and ribbons.
yeah.
So bringing that in. And then I have another element I take into schools, which is mandala creation using sand. And then we'll sit and do mandala meditations. I do that with adults as well because they
Mm.
really love that.
Yeah.
So loads of different ways of being involved in Just Joom.
Yeah, wow. I just really love the creativity in which you're applying mindfulness. I think that's so important. It's not just a nice thing to be creative, but it actually really draws people's attention and brings them into the present moment. So things like mandalas and these dances and arm movements, it's really, really wonderful. So yeah, I'm really excited and great to kind of speak to you over Skype and getting to know you better and better since you did the
Yeah,
training
you'll
program.
have to come to one of my classes, Shamash. The
Yeah,
ladies
yeah.
love to have you there. We
That is
need more
tempting.
men in the class.
Right, yeah. Well, I've had my little introduction now, and you've got me hooked.
Okay, so that's I'm taking that as a yes, you'll come to one of my
Yeah,
classes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'd
It's,
love
it's
to.
I think it's on tape, isn't it? It's recorded.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you
Somebody cut the tape. No, no, no. I'd like to come along. I'd like to come along. And also, I do this thing, this Museum of Happiness, where people come together and they try different things. So it'd be great to have you to come along and teach some sort of stuff there. The mandala would be great. The dancing would be great. Yeah, it'd be really fun. Nice
I'd love
combination.
to. I'd love to. What I'll do is I'll send you some more information. But yeah, let's get everybody zooming. And it's the thing with music, the Museum of Happiness. I really like that because it's about being happy. And I know you saw the Dalai Lama in London
Yeah,
last month, and I saw him as well. And it was really interesting that the 2 things that came out for me was one person said, "What's the usual question? What's the purpose of life?" And he said, "That's easy. It's to be happy. The hard thing is how do you get to be happy? That's the hard work you have
yeah,
to work at."
yeah,
And I think the other thing he said was that we all individually have a responsibility to make not just self-compassion and to be happy, but to make others happy and also to give them compassion.
yes,
And you may think, oh, I'm only one person. But if I can make a difference, even a small difference, and then you, Shamash, make a difference, and somebody else, it adds up. And for me, that was such an important message.
mm,
So I was very inspired and very excited, and with a few of my ladies actually from my classes that we're planning some projects, which I'll tell you about a bit more once I've got a bit more
mm.
information. But yeah, really, I was inspired by that. So your Museum of Happiness, really, I saw that the other day. I know you're meeting tonight.
Yeah, yeah, it was
You're
last
meeting
night.
up,
Yeah,
but
we
I
had we
can't
had a
make
little
it.
meetup. Yeah, yeah,
Thursday
yeah.
last.
This is the kind of thing that we want to do. Like get people who are applying mindfulness in a creative way to have an audience to be able to share that. And I think from what you've said, you do that very beautifully. It's such a beautiful story of how you had your challenges and struggles, as we all do, and then you've slowly gone that, and it seems to have just naturally unfolded to just applying it, and then your happiness comes from helping other people, and other people obviously feel happier and find a bit more peace through receiving it too. So thank you very much for your amazing work. I'm so happy to be connected and to know you.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. And your teaching was really good. I got a lot out of the course. I really did. And I
Thank you.
connected with one of the co-students as well.
Ah.
And we've kept in touch. So that's been really good. But yeah,
Ah.
looking forward to meeting you in person
Yes. Yeah, me too. Me
and
too.
and definitely Zooming with you at some point. There you go. Fabulous. Love
Bye.
that.